Hey, I'm Charles Clemens, one of the client partners at New Leaf Training and Development, and I'm joined today by Paul Butler, also of New Leaf. Paul, glad to see you. Can you tell us what's this Team Excellence program all about?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Well, in New Leaf, we like all of our programs to do what it says on the tin, team excellence. This is not about one person, and this is not about one person being mediocre. This is about a group of people working together to achieve excellence in all that they do for all the people that they serve and interact with.
Wow, that's much needed. And wow, thank you for describing that. Well, can you tell us, Paul, what will the participants benefit from this program?
Excellent. Well, the headlines are we start off by the kind of a definition of a team, commonly heard, commonly misunderstood. We look at that vitally important component within the team, which of course is trust. Trust is easy to say, hard to do. We tend to trust people when they're people of high character and they're people of high competence. We need both sides of the coin. Now, of course, we can't change other people. The best that we can do is to influence them. So hopefully by our character, our competence, we can influence others, and together we can form a highly effective team. We also look at the mission of the team, the why. We look at the vision of the team. Where do you want to get to by when? And we also look at the values of the team in terms of how do we want to do what we're doing. Remember, we're shooting for excellence, not mediocrity. We do a rather interesting exercise around trust called Saboteur, which, as the name suggests, brings out all sorts of fun and games, very purposeful participatory learning. And we also do an incredible exercise called Nail Balance, which, don't be fooled by the name, it's a really interesting exercise that looks at synergy. Again, an often overused management jargon word, but it really is a beautiful word if you look at the root of it. It's really talking about creative cooperation and how synergy is like the fruit that falls from the tree when a team is really working excellently together. It's a great program. I think the participants are going to love it.
Thank you for sharing that, Paul. And just it's been a privilege for me to get to know you and to see how you explain and teach these principles, and knowing your background that validates and backs up these very things you're teaching. But for those who don't know you, what's your credibility to speak on this subject?
Well, what surprises a lot of people, Charles, is I'm actually an accountant is my background. A lot of people say to me, gosh, you got far too much personality to be an accountant. But I qualified with PricewaterhouseCoopers. I worked for Hilton Hotels for many years before joining New Leaf. And the reason why I mention that, of course, is I think I've worked with some really excellent teams and I've worked with some mediocre teams. I
Mm.
think I've made a great contribution to some teams, and I think I've made a mediocre contribution to some teams. And so, really, what we've power packed into this program is again looking at the principles and the practices of highly effective teams. I'm really looking forward to bringing my experience and the architecture of New Leaf's program to this session.
Oh, it's really nice. Hey, Paul, whenever I've attended a training as a participant, I've always liked to connect with the facilitator on a personal level. So could you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what makes Paul tick?
Well, you can tell I am from Southern California.
Hmm.
You can probably tell.
I could hear the accent for sure.
I'm actually originally from England. If anyone's ever been to England, I'm from pretty close to Stratford upon Avon, where William Shakespeare's from, or Billy Shakes, as we used
Really
to call
shake.
him as schoolboys.
Okay.
Sounded rather rebellious at the time, not so much now.
Okay.
And I'm married. We've been married now for, can you believe it, 29 years
Mm.
this year. We've been blessed with two children who I'm delighted to say are not only now adults, but catch this, Charles, they're actually now officially off the payroll.
Mm. That's a win-win right there.
So that's a little bit about me, Charles.
Well, Paul, thank you for sharing. And it's an exciting program, Team Excellence. And for the participants, you have a fantastic program awaiting you.
Thank you, Charles.
Very welcome.